everybody. This is Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert. And I'm so excited to welcome you to another episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. Now, this is a special episode today because we only have two guests because I wanted to go in depth on these topics. So listen, today's show is all about learning the real deal about business credit. We're also going to be talking about AI. If you're still on the fence, you've been thinking about whether or not AI is really for you, well, I have a technology expert here who's going to break it all down about all the ways we can all be using AI to just increase our personal productivity and ultimately our business results. Now, if you're looking for ways to borrow money to scale your business, you're in the right place because we're going to get the real story about how to build business credit. And I promise you, it's not what you think. And if you're still on the fence about AI, my girl here, she is going to break it down for you about how to be strategic about how you leverage AI. Now, here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we talk about how to start and grow a successful small business. My guests have amazing insights to share, and you'll learn all kinds of sage advice that you otherwise would have to pay for. So, here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we really consider this a peer-to-peer mentoring show. We want to give you advice that is invaluable to your business because our mission here at the Small Biz Chat podcast is to end small business failure. The Small Biz Chat live broadcast can be seen on my Small Biz Lady Facebook fan page and my YouTube channel. So be sure to like and share and leave us a comment if you hear something great that's relevant to your business, or if there's a topic you want to see us tackle on this podcast. Please feel free to email me directly at support@melindaemerson.com. Today's guests are business credit consultant Angelic Williams, and I'm going to be talking with technology expert Aprelle Duany. So I'm so excited to learn from them both. So now it's time for me to introduce my first guest. There she is, Miss Angelic Williams. She's an executive consultant with Galt Finance. She's a creative Swiss Army knife, business consultant, business credit builder, and recovering perfectionist. I think I'm one of those too. Well, she has a diverse background spanning architecture, real estate, and entrepreneurship. She's built affordable housing and started numerous startups and has helped other businesses build their companies. She's also been featured in Essence magazine. She works to help business owners build their business credit so they can make their dreams a reality without suffocating under personal debt. For more information, you can go to jgalt.ai, and people who want to schedule an appointment with her scheduling link will be in our show notes. So if you want to hear more from Angelique, I have all the ways for you to reach her. So Angelique, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Oh gosh, I am so excited to have you here with me today. So let's just jump right into it. Um, what is business credit and how is it different from personal credit?
I love it. Coming in hot. So jump to the chase. So business credit is one of three types of credit that we have available to us in the country. So there's personal credit, there's business credit, and there's corporate credit. Business credit, as we call it, we think is the same as corporate credit. It's actually not. So, and it's because that business credit is attached to you as a person. It's attached to your social security number. So any business owner listening knows when you incorporate a whatever the structure is, doesn't matter. You gave all the business information, you gave your name, your address, a contact email, and phone number. And that was it. These four things is all they needed. But when you go to get credit, you give them some weird pesky fifth thing, which is your social security number. And why would we ever give anyone this very important information? To one, identify us, but mostly to track and collect debt from us. That's it. And so business credit is just a fancy name for personal debt. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have to give them your social security number. In essence, by doing so, we pierce that corporate shield that an LLC, that an S Corp, that a C Corp is supposed to protect us from. Corporate credit is truly what we're after and what we actually want, but it's very hard to get.
All right. So why is I mean, all of us little business owners out here, and I'm an S Corp. Why is corporate credit so hard to get?
It's by design. Quite point blank, it is by design. It is highly unregulated. It is typically for the 1%. And it's because, and by 1%, I don't mean like the people that make $500,000 a year, whatever it is. I mean, if your business makes over 20 million in annual revenue, you don't have to give a personal guarantee. You don't have to give your social security because corporate credit's made for the big boys. That's what it's for. But it is still available to every single business owner. But by design, it is hidden, it is fractured, and it's sold in a package that makes you think that it's actually building your business credit, but it's not. It's available, but it's just very, very hidden.
Okay, okay. All right. So now you've just made my head spin around telling me that. Okay, so I've got to be 20 million in business before these people stop asking me for my social security number?
Yep. You go to the bank, you go to the SBA. These entities are regulated by the US government. So they have very specific criteria. And one of those is a personal guarantee. Now, when you go to other companies like PayPal or Stripe or QuickBooks, whoever has lines of credit and working capital loans, they copy some of those underwriting criteria, which we can talk about. But again, it's attached to you. It's always going to be attached to you. And for those of you that have never heard personal guarantee, this does not mean Melinda's a nice lady. She's honest. I trust that she'll pay me back. That's not what that means. That means that no matter what happens to Melinda's business, the S Corp, no matter what happens to that, win, lose, or draw, Melinda's going to pay me. And I don't care that the S Corp was supposed to protect her legally and financially should something go wrong. She signed this piece of paper and gave me her social so I can go track this debt now. And that's what we all do. That's what we all know. I went to business school at Columbia. I did not know this. My friend that's a VP at Goldman Sachs does not know this. We know credit rating systems exist, but we don't know how they work because again, it is kept for that 1%.
Okay. So help me understand. So you're telling me that my American Express Platinum card is not really a business card, it's a personal card?
Is your name on it?
Yes, my company name and my name's on it.
Then it is not a true business credit card. A true business credit card would not have your name on it. We don't think about it though, because we're used to seeing our name on our credit cards. But no,
Really?
it's not.
Wow. Okay, so talk to me about a paydex score. What is the paydex score? I heard that that's like the business credit scoring number. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So for us, we have FICO, it's 350 to 850, it makes 0 cents. The Paydex score, it's a portmanteau of payments and index. That's why it's called that. And so all it is tracking a business's ability to repay payments on time. Again, there's a specific little formula there, but that's what it is. The score itself is much easier to understand than ours. It goes from 0 to 100. An 80 is like a 720, and a 90 is like an 800, but that is what the Paydex score is. And so I'll ask people, do you have business credit? Say, yeah, my credit's like 750. It's not what I asked you. If you give me anything over 100, I know that you don't know because most people don't. And most businesses I talk to, when I run their business credit through our software, 80 to 90% don't have anything, even if they have lines of credit, even if they have business loans, because it is not attached appropriately to track this.
Wow. So so what search engine do you use to find out your paydex score, or if you have one? Like where do you go to even find this information?
Yeah, so Dun& Bradstreet has it, Experian for business and Equifax for business, they all have that. The latter two are completely separate from the consumer versions. They're not the same thing. They have their own websites, it's its own different vertical, its own different business structure. But Dun& Bradstreet is kind of the biggest one credit bureau that people know. And so that's where it is. Conversely, you can email me your business name and city and state it's registered in, and I can check it for free. Most of these sites will charge you anywhere between $40 and $200, depending on what it is they're offering. And they will always upsell you with things that you, quite frankly, don't need because you don't know how to use it.
Wow. All right. So you've already explained to us business credit, corporate credit, personal credit. Um, what does a business owner have to do to start building this all important corporate credit if they're not at 20 million yet? Like what do you need to do to start building business credit?
So the very first thing is making sure all your ducks are in a row on small things. So most people think that business credit is tied to revenue, and it's not. It's one of 125 data points that make up what's known as corporate credibility, which in lender speak means fundability. So the very first thing, we've got to talk about professionalism. As a lender, my very first thing I'm looking for is fraud. I have to know, is this real business? So I should be able to find you online. Do you have a website? Even if it's a landing page, I need a website. I should not just find an Instagram or Facebook page. I need an actual website. Email addresses. Email me from a professional email address, not a Gmail, not an iCloud, you can get disqualified for funding from using the wrong email. Because anyone can have an iCloud, anyone can have a Gmail. Truthfully, anyone can have a professional email as well, but it's a little bit more work. So again, we're just trying to find credibility. Second thing would be addresses. This is very, very important. So most people don't have an office, and most of those people don't want to use their home address. So they go get a PO box or UPS mailbox. These two things, these two types of addresses, even though they are street addresses, automatic denial from lenders. Because from a fraud standpoint, this is not a business. This is a little box inside of another business. So no, that doesn't make any sense. So the workaround is find your local co-working space. They typically have mail service where you can collect your mail there, maybe $20 to $50 a month, depending on where you live. And that address works because, again, lenders know this is a business where multiple businesses do work asynchronously. And your address needs to be the same everywhere, specifically IRS, Secretary of State, Dun & Bradstreet, secondarily, bank accounts, utility bills, any and everything, because there's a platform called LexisNexis that knows everything about your business, from account balances to history to pay every single thing you've ever done. So that address needs to be consistent across the board, because again, as a lender, I see 6, 7 different addresses. I'm thinking fraud. The truth is, I moved, I was busy. My statement of information is due only every 2 years. So why does it matter? It matters. And the very last thing I'll mention, because it's very, very cockamamie one, and we've talked about this, is 411. If you are under 30, you may not understand what that means, but it was a phone service where you would call and say, can you connect me to the Domino's on 5th Street? And they would connect you. That still exists. It is digital now. And if your business phone number is not registered with National 411, a local number, not 800, a local one, automatic denial for 99% of corporate lenders. And
So
it cannot.
wait a minute. So you basically are saying that you have to still have a landline phone?
Yes, because it cannot be a cell phone number and it cannot be a VoIP. So you don't have to actually go buy a phone, but you do need to buy a landline through Verizon or Time Warner or Xfinity. Whoever gives your internet, they have that option. And you take that number, and again, you apply with that number, and you just forward it to whatever number you actually use. No one's ever going to call it, but it's just the way of the world. And again, think about where this comes from the underwriting. This comes from big banks. Underwriting does not get updated very often. So imagine I'm Apple, I'm Toyota, I'm Stripe, I'm PayPal, and I'm going to have my own lending arm. Well, I'm not going to reinvent underwriting. I'm just going to copy what the banks do. And so that's why it's there. It's the exact same thing, and it's meant to trip you up. This is by design. The way, I hate to sound conspiracy theorist, but it's meant to make sure that the 1% doesn't grow to 2% or 4% or 10%, God forbid. God forbid 10% of businesses in America made over $20 million, because you would understand how it works and you could shake things up, and they don't want that.
So, wow, you're just you're blowing my mind with some of this stuff. And it's interesting. I've always kept my landline for my business all these years. People are like, why do you still have a landline? Because I did know about this landline stuff. Okay, so tell me something. What if I want to get started? If I have all my ducks in a row, the things that you just said, and I want to start building my business credit, what do I need to do? Like, what kinds of credit do I need to get so that it starts registering me to get potential corporate credit?
Yeah, so once all your ducks in a row, then you open the appropriate accounts. I say appropriate because most business credit cards, trade lines, bank loans, SBA loans don't report to the business credit bureaus to help you build that profile. I'm gonna say that differently. Only 7% actually do. So for example, the Chase Inc. card does. The Capital One Spark card does not. But truly at the beginning, it's really trade accounts, vendor accounts. So Uline and Granger are very common accounts to open. The minimum spend is $50 a month, because the reason why 93% don't report is because it costs them money to report when we pay them on time. That's it. That's all. So
Okay.
why would I, multi-billion-dollar business, want to help you, poor business owner, with something you don't even know exists? I wouldn't. And I would just put it to my bonuses for my shareholders. The end. That's the end of the story. So you start with those trade line accounts to get that to build. So you're about trade credit, vendor credit. These are real things. You may not think it's important because you're like, oh, well, why do I need this card? Or why do I need to go get a gas card or this and that? Like, I actually need other things for my business. Well, these are the building blocks of corporate credibility, because business credit has 4 tiers. It's just tiers 1, 2, 3, 4. It's very sophisticated naming system. But you go through this vendor process, and each tier, you get more and more credibility until you can get to tier 4, wherever you give me a household name, they're there. And you can do infinite amount of things once we get to tier 4.
Wow. Wow. Well, listen, you're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast. And when we come right back, we'll be talking more with Angelic Williams on how to build business credit. Stay with us. All right, Angelique, I'm going to count us back in. Where do you want to start? You want to start? I guess we already talked about the common myths of business building. We talked about the financial accounts. Oh, common mistakes. That's what we'll start with, common mistakes. Okay.
Let's do that. I'm glad I didn't know we were doing that. So I'm glad I left the cliffhanger. So great.
All right. We're going to come back in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. And today we are talking about building business credit. And Miss Angelique Williams is blowing my mind, because all these things I thought I was doing, running hundreds of thousands of dollars through my Amex every year, apparently is doing not jack for me. So anyway, all right. So Angelique, talk to us about some of the common mistakes that small businesses make when they're trying to build business credit.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things in general is using your personal credit cards. Before we talk about building business credit, like the common mistakes people do is draining their 401k, borrowing against their house, running up their credit card, wrecking their personal debt. Every business owner you talk to will tell you, I had great credit until I started my business. Because people, unless there's some big expense or some unexpected event, we have finite expenses that don't change that much. Businesses always need something. There's always something, some subscription, some contractor I need to hire, some new service I need to do, some new product. There's always something. It costs money. And what most people do is they max out those credit cards. They try to do it themselves. And then they try to go get business credit and they can't get any. So what most people do is, again, like I said, the non-matching address is a big one. That's a big mistake. But most people, they'll focus on, traditional bank loans or SBA loans or different things like that. And they'll get denied. And then they think, oh, it's because my business is bad. It's because my idea is wrong. I'm a bad business person. And as a creative or an ambitious person, and if you're a combo, that denial is personal. And the thing, and the truth is that most of us, again, recovering perfectionists, most of us struggle to ask for help or try to think beyond what I see in front of me. Because banks and SBAs and these types of people, it's one type. It is not the only way. It's looking at what are my other options available. One of the biggest mistakes with people I talk to is I will ask them, I'm going to give you a magic wand. I'm going to say that in 12 months, you're going to have $200,000. What's going to happen in your business? And they'll paint this entire big picture of what they can do and blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, and I do all my consultations for education purposes. That's fine. But then they'll say, I'll look at this in a year, because they're not ready for it. It's too, we have as much of a fear of success as we do a failure. Of course, if I fail, I put myself out there. People are gonna think I'm dumb. What have I done? You know, I'm gonna have egg on my face. I don't want that. But also, oh, I could do $1 million in revenue. Well, that's really scary. Right now, I need to pay my late bill. So I'm gonna focus on this and I'll come back. But the truth is, it takes 6 to 12 months to really build a business credit profile. So in a year, again, businesses always need stuff. And you're going to run through that money and the things that you can do to be like, I can't spend any more money because I'm maxed out. When the reality is, you have to take the blinders off. You have to look up and think, am I doing this in the short run, or am I trying to build something sustainable? Am I trying to build something scalable? Am I trying to build wealth for my family, for myself, whatever? And if so, got to put the big pants on. You got to do it. But biggest common mistake, thinking small. Thinking small and thinking that something isn't for them when it actually is.
Well, but I also want to clarify something too. I mean, 8,000 loans are turned down in America every day. 8,000. So it's extremely common, and no one should take that personally. They just need to apply someplace else. I mean, really, you know. And so I want to allay people's fears, because everybody's had it happen to them that they got down for. I mean, it's so common that it's common that it does, if it doesn't happen.
Right.
And I know people who've been in business 20 years who've never been able to get a line of credit, like just crazy stuff.
And I'll tell you exactly why. I will tell you exactly why. Let me bust that myth real quick. Is because people, again, they think it's based on revenue. But here's what happens. If we apply for a credit card, we're going to get a notification from the bank, from whoever, that, oh, there was a hard pull, right? We're going to know that. And again, that is still fairly new. That's because consumer protection laws changed. That was not the case in 2000. Now it is. But business credit, anyone can run your business credit at any given time, and you will never know. So again, 80% of the businesses I talk to don't have anything existing. So I can go to the bank with a $5 million business. I'm doing $5 million a year. I come in with my P&L, my pay stubs, my taxes, and they say no. Whatever that number is, I might need $100,000, $500,000. They'll say no. And the reason that happens is because, again, they're checking for corporate credibility. You don't have any. Or you might be on tier 1, and I need you to be on tier 4. So you don't have any existing credibility. So this $5 million is no longer under consideration. We've got to get rid of it. Who do I have left to look at? You, the business owner. Well, how much money do you make? What's your debt to income ratio? What's your utilization rate? Well, you, as a person, cannot support this debt. So the answer is no. That's what's every business owner, when they go to the bank or lines of credit, that's what's happening. And again, because as business owners, we take our credit, we don't pay ourselves enough, all these different things. And unless you're independently wealthy, there is a cap that a person can support. Businesses, on the other hand, Walmart has $100 billion in available credit. That's insanity. It's insanity. Imagine a person being like, I have $100 billion credit line. You what?
Right. That would never even possibly happen, right?
No.
So you said the main sources of business credit, you said, are trade accounts, vendor accounts, but how can you find out? Like, a lot of us are sitting here with business credit cards in our wallet. How can we find out if our credit card company actually reports to the business credit bureaus?
Unfortunately, it is not an easy process. You'd either have to call the underwriting department and they probably don't know, or you'd have to read your terms and conditions.
Hmm.
That's, again, if you run a credit safe account, credit safe report or business credit report, you will see what's reporting there. And if it's not there, those are kind of the three ways. You pay for a report, call underwriting, read the terms and conditions. It's again, there's a 93% chance they're not. And that's kind of the big thing. So Amazon, for example, their business credit card does report. But again, we talk about these tiers. So Amazon's on tier 2. And if you haven't passed go, you can't get to tier 2. So a lot of people will say, oh, I applied for an Amazon business credit card and I got denied. I don't get it. Because you don't meet the requirements.
Right.
And you don't know what the requirements are either. So I talked to someone last week and she's learned a lot of this on TikTok and it's really interesting. And she said, yeah, everything you're talking about, it makes sense, They talk about the vendor credit card, they talk about this, and then talk about tier 4. And so I feel like I have steps 1 and 2 and 10, but I don't have steps 3 through 9. I'm like, yes, because they don't know it themselves. Most people that understand what true business credit is can get to tier 1, maybe tier 2. But after that, the walls get even higher. And so, that's where people like myself, my company, come in and really help with that and demystify and put you to the right places. But that's really the challenge, is that it's independently done. There's been some research about this. It takes an individual business owner that's looking for this about 5 to 7 years to build it on their own, because it's trial and error. So imagine I'm 90% chance wrong every single time, and I'm trying all of these cards, and I might have to put my social down for some of this, and I'm just getting ding, 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 ding. So it's really catch-22.
It sounds like it. So tell me, how can people work with you? Like if someone wanted help and say, look, I've got to do this because I got some big things I want to do and I want to get access to certain things, how long, how do they work with you? What kinds of ways do people work with you? And how long does it typically take if they're working with an agency like yours to fix their business credit?
So that's a great question. So just the length and time, we are contractually bound, whichever way we work, to get someone to tier 4 with that 80+ score in 12 months or less. And it's because when you run a business credit report, it only goes back 12 months. It's not 7 years like us. So it can build very fast and business credit grows exponentially. So the way that someone works with us is they talk to someone like me. We talk about what their goals are, if it's a good fit, and fit really comes down to 2 things. One, if you have a US issued EIN, you don't have to be a citizen. You just need this EIN. We can't work with international companies because the laws are a little bit different. But we need a US issued EIN, and you can't be in one of our no-go categories. So that qualifies as oil and gas, ammunition, adult entertainment, politicians, cannabis, things of that nature, because vendors are skittish about these things and don't want to be involved from either exposure risk or federal regulation risk like cannabis. So as long as those 2 things are true, that you have a US EIN and you're not in the no-go zone, we can work with you. What happens is you get assigned a certified credit analyst. They're US based. They work with you one-on-one. They meet with you the first month is like 2, maybe 3 1-hour meetings. After that, it's 1 meeting a month. And all they do is say, okay, Melinda, what are you doing? What are you spending? What are your goals? What do you want to do? And I always tell people in that meeting, take the lid off, because they're going to engineer this to what you want. If you just say, oh, I want to see where it gets, that's fine. You'll still get a nice credit profile. That's fine. But if you say, I want to buy a building, I want to grow my team, I need this equipment for this thing, I want to franchise, I want to do this, then they'll be like, okay, so we need to do some other situations and make this really work for you, and like really press the gas on this to make sure we get there. And so they work with you one-on-one. On the flip side, we have a network of 400 lenders and vendors that we know 2 things about: who they report to, because they have to report to the business credit bureaus, otherwise why are you here with us? And the second is what their underwriting criteria is. So we know automatically, because your business info is loaded into our system, we know automatically if you qualify. So it'll say recommended, not recommended, recommended, not recommended. So we know if you apply, you're going to get approved. And all we're going to do, it's rocket science. Just listen in. All we're going to do is take your exact same spending and move it from this credit card and this bank account that is paying out of to these credit cards that are vendor accounts, some of which you have to use at the location like BP or Shell, some of which you don't have to. And that's it. And we're just going to pay it off like we already would. That's all we're going to do.
So what is the typical investment for that kind of service?
So we have two different programs. We have a 1 year and a lifetime. We have payment plans for both. Our lifetime is 10,000. Our 1 year is 6,000. The lowest in for lifetime right now is 1,000 down and 500 a month for 22 months. The down payment for the 1 year is 2,400, 2,450 down and 295 for 12 months. Once that payment is done, we don't take any more fees. That's just everything's included. The difference between the two is that the bigger package, it has cash flow mapping software, annual business valuations, a suite of executives that are actually our company execs that help you with marketing, legal, fractional CFOs, things of that nature. You can pull business credit reports on other people. So if you're working with someone, you can say, oh, they may not have any, and that's fine. Or, oh, look, they never paid a bill on time ever. This is a brand issue for me, so let me not work with them. And that's really the key. And then we have some third-party vendors where if you have W-2 employees, it's typically the largest expense for a business. We work with the only payroll provider in the country that reports W-2 payments to the business credit bureaus.
Wow.
So just running payroll on time, you can build your credit. We have the same thing with credit card processing, with bookkeeping and marketing. These are optional services, but they are available. One special thing, if you consider it special, is people that come into J. Galt through me, get me as their internal sort of strategy person, and I meet with them and kind of go through what are they trying to do. Because again, knowledge is great, money is great, without the strategy, it's kind of useless. So that's really how we work, but we are contractually bound to get everyone to tier 4 with that 80+ score in 12 months or less. We've done it 44,000 times and have unlocked 1.4 billion in credit. All of our clients get at least 50,000. The average is about 200 to 400,000. But again, we have people that went up to 1 million, people that are, it just depends. It just depends.
Wow. Okay. Well, give us your contact information again so that people, if they want to get in contact with you, they can.
Absolutely. My email is Williams, like Venus and Serena, WILLIAMS, at jgalt, that's JGALT.io. Or please text, please do not call this number, I swear, just please don't. It's just a personal thing. But it's 510-833-6429. And as I was mentioned, my scheduling link will be in the show notes. So please reach out to me. Please ask me any questions. My job is to educate, so I'm happy to do so.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angelique. You have really dropped so many pearls on this Small Biz Chat podcast today. And I really look forward to, how you're going to help so many of my loyal listeners transform their businesses. So thank you so much. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Coming up next on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to be talking with a technology expert who's going to demystify AI for all of us. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host, and we are going to be talking about all things AI. But before we get into that, I just want to thank so many of you for listening to our podcast, for watching it on our Facebook, my Small Biz Lady Facebook page, or my YouTube channel. We have been in business for 25 years, and I'm so proud to have the opportunity to share with you tools and tips to help you live your dream life as an entrepreneur. As always, if you hear a piece of advice that is just amazing to you, please leave us a comment. Or if there's a topic that you want us to address on a future show, please, by all means, leave a comment and let us know. This is a peer-to-peer mentoring show, and I want it to work for you as well as it works for everyone else. So with that, it's time for me to introduce my next guest. Today's guest is Aprelle Duany, and she is a technology expert who brings a unique blend of creativity, leadership, and technological expertise to produce excellent results. Her robust skill set and unique experiences allow her to navigate complex business and technical landscapes, transform business operations, and champion impactful initiatives. She's an innovator and problem solver with a multifaceted career from a senior associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers to CEO of a luxury fashion brand. Her mission these days is to leverage ethical technology to enhance productivity and efficiency while fostering societal advancements. She's focused on the moral development of AI and on promoting diversity amongst technology stakeholders to reduce digital wage and gender disparities. For more information, you can go to Aprelle. I always want to struggle with your last name. It's Aprelle Duany.
Duany, yes, yeah,
.com. All right.
correct.
It'll be in the show notes, guys. Don't
Right.
anyway. Bro, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So
Gosh, you've
excited.
had such an incredibly diverse career. Like, how did you become this AI guru?
Yeah, so it's been when I listen to my own bio, I'm like, how old am I? I've done quite a few things over the past almost 4.5 decades, but I've always been in technology. Like even from the age of like 3 or 4, I was the kid. I would like take the toaster apart, take the VCR apart. I just had a hunger to understand how things worked because I always wanted to see if I could improve it and make it better. And so that has always been my foundation of technology. But I started as an engineer in college, and I was first introduced to that one and lonely experience that a lot of women have in technology. And so this was a big university. I was the only woman, and I was the only Black person in my entire freshman class. And so that was now, the introduction, like, wow, this is the thing I love. But I didn't feel very welcomed. And so that was a seed that was planted in me very early. I didn't want other women who, naturally have a tendency to love technology to feel like they're not welcomed in that space. And so carried that along. First job out of college was in the corporate American world. Worked at PwC for about 4 or 5 years, and I was basically a hacker before hacking was a cool term. I was a security analyst, and so it was a really awesome experience. Still had that same one and lonely kind of. I think there were like two Black women in our group, and they would like mess our names up. And I'm like, there's like so many of you guys. We know your names, you know what you're doing, but then you're calling us the wrong name. So again, it was that experience of feeling like an other in a space that you work so hard to be at. Fast forward from there, I moved to Africa. My husband is from Africa, so lived in East Africa for about 15 years. And so I was introduced to a whole new environment and a whole new understanding of problem solving, which is the way that I look at technology and design. So that's where I got a lot of my social enterprise experience. And the biggest challenge that I saw while I was there was that young girls were not having the opportunity to be educated. If you're in a large family and you're one or two girls out of, I don't know, however many boys, you would not be educated. You would not have the opportunity to go to school just because you were a girl. And so, that was just such a disconnect for me. And my heart is just very passionate about empowerment, especially when it comes to girls and women. So, started a few nonprofits, started a school while I was there, and then also started a luxury brand, as you mentioned earlier. And so that was to help women gain the skills that they need to become entrepreneurs and then use those funds to, just be financially independent. So even though I've gone through quite a few different careers, technology has been at the base. And I just look at it as a way to solve problems efficiently. That's why I love AI. Yeah, so that's kind
Awesome.
of a nutshell.
So, can you share, just some examples about like ways that we could use AI in every day in our businesses to like just make them run better and save us time?
Definitely, definitely. I think one of the challenges that people think it's like, oh, I need to have a degree in technology or I need to be a programmer to be able to use AI, but there's so many simple ways. And I'll give you two examples. I have a client who has a product-based business, and so she uses her POS system. I can't remember which brand it is, but she basically uses her POS system every day. She's transacting every single day. And so when she came to me, she said, I'm working so many hours. I'm not making as much money as I want to, and all these different things. And I said, okay, let's take a look at your data. And so I did a download of her data, analyzed it with AI, and we were able to identify her top sellers. And then we were able to turn that into a new product that she can now ship. So she was able to change her entire business model. She stopped wasting so much time and energy and resources on things that weren't working for her, and just really doubled down on what was already making her so much money. So that's one simple way. Another example that comes to mind, and I see this a lot in women and also men who have worked in a career for maybe 20 or 30 years, they're burnt out. They're tired of the journey and the struggle, and they're looking, how can I take 30 years of experience and stop working the same amount of hours and the same amount of operations. And so one of my current clients, I helped her to transition her 30 years of experience into digital products. And so instead of her having clients I think she worked actually from Monday to Saturday at like 80 hours a week. I'm like, that's not sustainable, it's just not sustainable. So we transformed that into digital assets. She's also now teaching her method of her skill. And so those are very simple ways. You can take what you've been doing for 30 years, utilize different AI tools, and create digital assets from them. And then that's now your new product. So those are simple
All right,
ways
but
that you
wait a
don't need
minute,
a
wait a minute.
degree or.
I have to push back on you though. So what AI tool are you
Okay.
using to create courseware for people?
So my go-to favorite AI tool is ChatGPT because it does everything. Okay, I have the advanced version of it. I'm also very good at prompting, and so that is what allows me to get results very quickly.
Mhm.
There are other tools. Jasper is one that helps with copywriting and that sort of thing. And then I'm also starting to use Claude, which has also been really amazing, as I'm also studying my PhD, and I've been using that tool quite a bit. So pretty much ChatGPT is kind of does everything for me. It's a magical tool. So even if you took let's say you took this video, you could now pump it into ChatGPT and say, help me create a curriculum based on the conversation that I had. And then within 5 minutes, you have a curriculum. So it's accessible and it's definitely possible.
Oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind. All right. So, but what are some of the common challenges though of adopting AI, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges that I'm seeing, and for me, luckily enough, I have a tech background, so I started, programming, and I know those languages. I think the common barrier is that people feel like they have to have that level of engineering skills or coding skills or information technology skills. So they see AI as this new beast that, okay, I need a course, I need this, I need that in order to use it. But it's very approachable, it's very accessible. My mom is now using AI, so I think anyone can, use these tools. But I think just that fear factor of, I don't know enough, I don't have the right background, it's overwhelming. Um, we kind of live in a fear-based society, so whenever you attach fear to something, people, shy away. So I would say that's the most common thing that I see, just fear of, not having the capability to utilize the tools properly.
Well, what about a small business, right? How can small business owners identify areas within their operations where AI could be leveraged?
I think if you do a daily journal, I'm a person that loves to journal. I write a lot.
Mhm.
If you took from when you wake up until when you go to sleep or just your work day and just journal, what are the tasks that you're doing repetitively? Or what are the tasks that you have to, let's say, for instance, create content, right? And I see you're amazing at creating content. But if you're someone that's like, oh man, now I have to think of what am I going to post on YouTube? What am I going to, So for whatever those friction moments are, those are opportunities to start using AI. So even if you start with a simple free version of ChatGPT and you identify what are the tasks that I'm having to do over and over and over again, that's something that I can start leveraging AI with. What are the tasks that I really don't enjoy doing and I can't afford to hire an assistant to plan out my LinkedIn calendar or something like that. So whatever those tasks are that are repetitive or things that cause a little bit of tension, those are things I would say are easy to start with, um, to not be too overwhelmed in the beginning.
All right, so let's talk about paid versus free, right? So,
Yes,
do you need the paid version of ChatGPT, or will the free version get the job done?
Honestly, the free version will get the job done, especially if you're trying to figure out what is your footing, because we're in an age where there are new apps and new tools that are coming out every single day. It can become very overwhelming. But we're also in a very lucky stage of where we are with AI because as a business, OpenAI wants as many people as possible to use ChatGPT. The same with all of the other businesses. They want to incentivize you to use the tool. So it's going to be free. It may not always be free. So take advantage of this time while the tools that are becoming available are free. Use them, maximize them because they may not always be free, but you can definitely do a lot with the free version of all of the tools right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to pay for it.
All right. Well, I appreciate that because I'm always about, I tell people all the time, you don't have to pay for the free version of LinkedIn either, unless you're using, what is it, Sales Navigator? You don't need the free, the free version works just fine. Now talk to me
Exactly.
about specifically about some AI tools that could help you improve customer experience and like satisfaction for all small business owners.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go back to ChatGPT. I've actually created my own chatbot on my website, and I use ChatGPT to do that. There are a variety. There's another one called Voice Flow, where you can put in a few prompts, and then it'll also create a chat bot for you that you can link to your website. And basically, what a chat bot does, it's your customer service agent. And so, if you have a lot of content on your website, if you have your own knowledge base, your own framework that you use, it can now be the baseline of your customer service agent who is working for you 24/7 while you're sleeping. It can also take a conversation from someone who's interested in one of your products, and it can also recommend something for that potential client. So there's a lot of opportunity. I think it can start very basic, and then you can also add more depth to it as you get more familiar with the tools.
Great. And then can you talk to us a little bit about the future trends? Like, where do you see AI going? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's slowing down anytime soon, but where is it going in terms of more practical application for real, like regular people that do not have a degree in computer science?
Right. I mean, I see two different things that are moving in a positive way. So one is diversity. I'm not sure if you saw something that happened recently with Google's Gemini. And so someone would prompt, can you give me a picture of the founding fathers of America? And they would put Black men, right? And so there was there was some backlash, like,
That's
okay, this
interesting.
isn't right. And so what happened was that the pre-prompts that now indicate what the deliverables are from the prompt were too hard-coded. And so what I like to say is that you can't code diversity. You actually need to add more people to the table. And so when you see a big company like Google making mistakes like that, you know that more diverse conversations are, in our near future. So that benefits all of us. I do feel that minorities and underserved communities do need to actively publish more on these tools so that we can have an authentic voice. And then I also see more accessibility. When you have voice, you can prompt through texting, you can prompt through videos. So it's making everyone be able to use the tools more efficiently and more effectively. So I would say an increase in diversity, as well as making the tools more accessible for everyday people. And I think everyone can be using it now, even if you're not a small business owner. So I'm a small business owner. I'm also a mom. I use ChatGPT for everything from recipes to, holidays to, how do I help my daughter become a better tennis player? Like all of the things, not necessarily just focused on business. So it's helpful all around.
Great stuff. All right, last question. What is the best business book that you have ever read?
Okay, so I did say I'm a nerd. So
Actually, wait a minute. I just asked you the wrong question. Forgive me.
Oh,
What is the
oh.
best business advice you've ever received? Not the best business book. I'm sorry.
The best business advice I've ever received is, as a business owner, it's your job to find your customer. It's not your customer's job to find you. And that set a very strong tone for me, because you think I'll build it, they'll find me, they'll find my website, and it's not the case. Build it and then find them, and then you'll have a business.
I love it. Thank you so much, Aprelle. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you. And you've given us so much information. If someone wants to work with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so my website is the best way to get in touch with me. So it's APRELLEDUANY.com, AprelleDuany.com. I do offer premium services, but I have a heart to help. So I also do live training sessions on Wednesdays on LinkedIn. And so every Wednesday for 30 minutes, I do a free training, business focused training on using AI to leverage growth in your business. So I'm also on LinkedIn at Aprelle Duany. So those are the best two ways to find me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you so much. And when we come right back, we're going to be talking with both of our guests about all the ways that they can help us with their tricks and tips that they use in their business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. All right. Miss Angelique, we need you back, please. There. All right.
You.
So I'm going to bring you guys in and again, we're just going to do the panel. Now, the interesting thing about this is that these answers are a lot shorter. So I need you guys 30 seconds on these answers, right? And if one of you take the answer, the other one, you got to come up with a new answer. Okay. Yep. All right. So I'm going to count us back in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. And I have both of my guests back with us, Miss Angelic Williams from Galt, and also I have Aprelle. I'm gonna say your name in my sleep now because I've been struggling with it. Duany. Aprelle.
Correct. Yes. No
And
worries.
now we're going to do a really quick panel that I love to call Hit It and Quit It. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, you guys. I'm going to ask each of you the same questions. You're only going to have 30 seconds to answer. And if someone takes your answer, that means you better come up with another answer. And you can't talk longer than 30 seconds or I'm going to give you the cowbell. And I don't want to do that. So I want you guys to stick to the format. Okay. So Angelique, since you've been waiting the longest, we're going to start with you. So we'll just alternate with you guys for these questions, okay? So the very first question is, what is your favorite podcast?
So I'm going to do a shameless plug for a friend of mine who's very, very smart and very talented. It's called Her Space Podcast. It is very good. It is tailored specifically towards Black women talking about mental health, about business. They've had a myriad of guests. Yvonne Orji's been a guest on their show. They're doing very, very well. It is good if you need something that's just about life, not always about business. Honorable mention to How I Built This. Love it.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Aprelle, what is yours?
Yes, mine is Gold Digger by Jenna Kutcher. And I've seen her grow over, the past, decade, and I just love the variety on her show. So I would say she's definitely my number one podcast right now.
I like her podcast too. I like her podcast a
Yeah.
lot because it's such a great, first of all, it's such a great play on words. It's not gold digger, it's gold digger. So I love
Exactly.
I love that, and I love her, and I love her podcast. So that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm a real big fan of how it was made. Like that's my favorite podcast.
Oh yeah.
So I really like that one a lot. I also there's another one I really like too, and of course I'm blanking on it because I'm trying to say it, but there's so many good ones out there. All right, so the second question, and April, I'm gonna ask you this one first.
Okay.
What is your favorite business app? Favorite business app?
Yes. So my favorite business app is definitely ChatGPT.
I knew you were. How did
I
I know?
use it every day, all day, not just for business, but for work, for life, for family. It's my favorite. I use it in the car. I mean, I love it. I mentioned to you guys earlier, it analyzes my terms and conditions, stuff I don't want to read. Like I just use it for everything. So top app.
All right, Angelique, what's your favorite app?
I'm so glad you didn't say mine because I did not have a backup ready. Mine is Calendly. Calendly is mine. And so
Oh, that's a good one.
and growing up, I would hear adults and like, are you free? It's like, oh, let me check my calendar. And I'm like, are you really that busy? Do you really don't know? But truth be told, I honestly don't know what's happening in my life without looking at my calendar. I just don't know. I have to put everything on there, and I have 6 or 7 email accounts. I'm like, and they're on different things. And so I finally ponied up and paid for it to add more. And I'm like, I just don't have time. So I just put everything on there. And with my friends, like sometimes, like my friends that either I work with or we're trying to catch up, whatever. I'm like, you know what? No, I have to client you. Nope. Here's my link. Book something. Like, we're not going to do this back and forth. Just book
Right.
something. We'll do it. I even have a red light special link, which is a private link. And that is for late night calls for my East Coast folks or for my West Coast grinders that are ending work at 6 and want to talk. And so, but that's by request only.
Well, wait a minute. I thought
Okay.
that
VIP links.
was your private link for your boyfriend. Like I wasn't sure what you was about to say about that.
Listen, if I had a boyfriend, somebody invasion of the body snatchers. I don't know what just happened. But I wish I was such a hot commodity that I needed a Calendly for those types
Bro,
of.
listen, you pick somebody's business and help them get $100 million. I bet you get you a boyfriend. Okay, I'm just saying.
Good point.
Just be on the lookout. But anyhow, all right. So next question is, what is your favorite old school marketing tip? Angelique, we're going to start with you. What is your favorite old school marketing tip?
So creative giveaways. So I try to keep my stuff handy. And this one I got from Merck. Free product placement. They are a pharmaceutical company. They made this thing that looks like a pill. I was like, what is this? You open it. Uh-oh, no, other way. There we go. You open it, and it's an umbrella. And this is the paper. And I was like, I opened it.
How cute is that?
The little reaction was like this. I was like, this is amazing. This is so
In
smart.
awe.
Yeah, creative giveaways. Love it, love it. All right, Aprelle, what is your favorite old school marketing tip?
My favorite old school marketing tip is just that your network is your net worth. And as much as I want to continue to grow my business, grow my own professional network, it's like just that thing that keeps ringing in my head, So the more you network, the larger your personal and professional business or, network will grow.
100%, 100%. All right. Now, our last question, and Aprille is coming to you first, and then you, Angelique. What is the best business book you have ever read?
Yes. This book is called Measure What Matters, and it's by John Doerr. And I love the book because I think as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, we're always trying to do everything, but not everything is going to move the needle. And so this book really helps you to identify what are your key objectives that you're trying to reach, and what are the things that are going to help you to achieve that, and how do you measure it over time? So you can kind of get rid of the fluff. So I read it actually annually to remind myself to focus on what matters, measure what matters. So it's a really great book.
I like it. I like it. All right, Angelique, what's your favorite book?
Again, props are handy. Mine is called
Fascinate. Okay, who's the author?
It's Sally Hogshead.
Hmm.
It's Hogshead. Sorry, Hogshead. That's how she pronounces it. Sally Hogshead. But it's fascinating how to make your brand more impossible to resist. And it's really about like your brand voice and the type of company you have and how to do your marketing and how to really engage people. And there's also really amazing historical stories about people that shifted their product to something else, like Play-Doh was originally used to clean coal off of the baseboards in houses because you use
Wow.
the heater and the soot would go on the baseboard. And so you use that thing to like tack up all the stuff. And then we stopped using coal. They were like, what are we going to do with this thing? Like, well, it's kind of like a toy. And so they took all the chemicals out of it and made it into a toy for kids, except for the smell. Like the smell was in the original product, and that's how you knew it was cleaning something. But now it's just a smell. It doesn't actually do anything because there's no other chemicals that it's interacting with.
That is
It's pretty cool.
They're like,
Yeah.
what?
like Play-Doh. Wait a minute. Like that's really
but it's just such a good book, and it's just so very well written.
I love it. I love it. My favorite book that I've read recently, I just reread it recently, is 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. I love, love, love this book. And I'm in the process this year of transforming my whole business after reading it because that's how impactful it was to me. And what I love so much about this book is he talks about how if you're not doing things in your business that force you to transform yourself as a business leader, then it's not big enough. And it's not time. And he's basically like 80% of what you're doing, you need to stop doing. You know, and you need to
That's
focus.
where AI can come in.
You need to focus on that 20%. That's really important. That's really going to move the needle and build long-term wealth for you. It's almost like, you know, that old saying, you know, shoot for the moon, but you'll be among the stars. Like that's really kind of what he's saying. He's like, stop playing small. Stop being out here playing with these businesses. Like, get serious about what you're trying to do and then go do it. And know that it might take you 2 or 3 years to get there, but if you start today, right, you can get there. So I love this book. I've actually listened to it and read it, and I'm like, and it's really transformed how I've transformed my team, how I've transformed, we're doing global expansion now. And it's all this stuff was because I read this book and I was like, well, no, first I got a vision from God that I needed to play bigger. And then I read the book that told me how to play bigger. And so that is what I am doing in my business in
That's awesome.
And I'm so excited about it. But I cannot thank you two ladies enough for being my guest today on the Small Biz Chat podcast. Thank you to Angelic Williams of Galt Finance, jgalt.io. But don't forget, her scheduling link is going to be in our show notes. So make sure that you schedule with her. And my dear AI technology buddy, Aprelle Duany. If you guys want more information on her, she is aprelleduany.com, and that's APRELLEDUANY.com. All right. Now, if you are interested in transforming your business and your life, you got to head over to the Small Biz Lady University, where we offer tools and coaching to help you live your best life as an entrepreneur. So I want to encourage all of you, and remember this, you never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody. See you next time.